This studio album rankings video contains no original music by the Beatles. I've had a handful of issues stemming from using their work in my content in the past, and with recent events on my channel placing it in a currently precarious position, I didn't want to chance anything here. As you may have noticed, this is a ranking of the Beatles' UK-issued studio albums. Therefore, no US releases such as, for example, Yesterday and Today, are included, and nor is Magical Mystery Tour, which was originally released in Britain as a double EP before its reissue in album format years after. I was reluctant to include Yellow Submarine, especially as I don't technically own the original version of the album, plus the fact it is more like a glorified compilation, crossed with an orchestral film score. However, canonically speaking, it is counted as a Beatles studio album, hence it makes this chart. Given that this is a Beatles-specific video, I shall take this opportunity to once again voice my irritation at the way transatlantic people pronounce the group's name. I mean, I know it's your accent, but where does that begin? And just speaking lazily, a question for the linguistic experts, maybe. It's not the Beatles. Pronounce the T, not a false D. Go on. Try it. You might surprise yourself at how much you enjoy sounding like a person who knows how to talk properly. That means you too. Norman Maslow. You might be the biggest authority on the Fab Four in the VC, and you may well own 16 rare copies of this Please Please Me LP at number 10 in the list. But for once in your 80+ years, get the name of your favorite group right, and not confused with the surname of that now deceased, small-handed prankster Jeremy. I both realize and appreciate the irony of ending a self-satisfied lecture to Americans on their slovenly speech patterns, by referencing Jeremy Beadle, and by Americans, yes, I also mean Canadians. Rachel's Ghost. Forgive me for lumping the Great White North with your gun nut neighbors to the south. It was for ease of reference. I owe you a quote-unquote dono, which I'm reasonably certain is a Canadian snack, deep fried, and covered in sugar. The second studio album, with the Beatles, places at number 9 in this chart. It features what is, for me, the standout track on the LP, I Wanna Be Your Man, though strangely enough, I preferred the Rolling Stones cover to this Lennon and McCartney original, that came out after Mick and the Lads version was released as a single, it being the very first performance on the very first episode of Top of the Pops. One for you trivia fans out there. As we arrive at the top 6 Beatles studio albums, here's where we dig into all the really good stuff. Has anyone seen the Get Back documentary series on Disney+? Let me know in the comments below. Also, has anyone seen Alan, the Static Traveler, lying down on the floor whilst attempting some rank amateur puppeteering, with those soft toys of his? Minj and Eric? Talk about a YouTube channel with a split personality. One video of his is like the cheapest episode of Rainbow ever made, then the next one He's set his black and white filter on his editing software, like a pound shop Mazzy, just to play his long-suffering view as some intolerable noise, masquerading as highbrow classical music. Poor old Static Traveler. He wants to be both a purveyor of end-of-peer comedy, and also an arty-farty Russell Harty, here in the VC, yet he hasn't quite got the hang of either. Truly the personification of a jack of all trades, and a master of none. Here at number 5 is the self-titled album, that will get you a severe dressing down from hardline Beatles nutters, if you ever refer to it as the White Album. Personally, I think saying your favorite band's name wrong for the last 60 years is worse. But I've been through that already. It's a struggle to fill this video up with this kind of incisive and witty commentary. But even I wouldn't blatantly start flogging that dead horse again so soon. Coming in next, at number 4, perhaps lower here than what other Fab Four fanatics would place it, is the groundbreaking Sgt. Pepper, featuring on the sleeve, along with the Beatles, and their waxworks, a whole plethora of famous people in history. Did you know that if you counted each individual on the LP sleeve, the total would still be dwarfed by the amount of YouTube shows, series, specials, websites, and podcasts TC Kirkham plans to get done this calendar year alone? TC, the hardest working man in the VC, doesn't know the meaning of the phrase, not enough hours in the day. Then again, he is a Barry Manilow fan, so it's doubtful he knows the meaning of good taste, either. Okay, here we go, onto the all-important top 3 Beatles albums. Has your favorite appeared in the chart yet? At number 3, is the Liverpool Quartet's 6th studio long player, and here's something you might not have known. This album was named after the moment all those decades ago, when Rob Walker lost his virginity. Scrubbers hole. Rob Walker is vinyl community royalty. You know exactly what you're getting with Rob, each and every time. The same lack of editing, the same lack of a thumbnail, the steadfast refusal to add any additional lighting in the room when making a video, in case it would add an extra 20 pence onto the meter. Rob Walker's one expressive trait can be best described as sardonic, except for those rare, yet memorable moments in his videos, where he brings up Paul Weller, and the fleeting twinkle in his eye is representative of that funny feeling he gets off camera, down in his Y fronts. Revolver takes the runner-up spot in this list, so you all know by now what the number 1 Beatles studio album is. Now would be an appropriate time to thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, and aren't by now thoroughly sick of the sound of my artificially created, monotone voice, then congratulations for being open-minded, tolerant, and patient. And there are many other VC channels out there, of men with boring voices, and no personality, for you to subscribe to. As YouTube content creators, within the vinyl community sphere, we are all at least passionate about music, and I'm also passionate about creating new, original, and unusual content. With me unwilling to use original music in this album ranking, I decided to take this one in a somewhat different direction. But I'm sure we'll be back to business as usual for the next one. But if you enjoyed the gentle roasting served up here today, do let me know, and perhaps someday, I'll be back to puncture some more VC pomposity. Until then, farewell.